Hey there, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful week. You enjoyed your Yom Ha'atzmaut, and now you're all looking forward to reading about Parshat Tazria and Metzora, reading about leprosy and other sorts of afflictions that can afflict the walls of your house. And I'm sure you're all excited about that. As strange as some of the things we will read on Shabbat are, because they are so foreign to us, I want to show that aside from understanding the halachot related to Tzaraat, to this the leprosy condition that can afflict a person, can inflict objects or a house, there are values learned in this parsha that are relevant in other areas of Jewish law. And I believe beyond Jewish law, there are values that are very relevant to how we conduct ourselves with other people. Let me give you one example. As the Torah begins this description of what to do if you have a negat tzaraat, a leprous affliction, and how do so what do? You call over the Kohen. You call over a Kohen, take a look. What do you think? The Kohen has the ultimate final say and psak on determining the status of the tzaraat, if it is indeed tzaraat or it is not tzaraat. The Torah then says, after you call the Kohen over, or you go to show him, you show the Kohen, he looks. The Kohen looks at the nega, at the affliction. Does the hair turn white within that area? Does the area have a deeper white? That white color has a deeper look to it than the normal skin color. Whatever that means. Then negat tzaraathu. That is a tzaraat, affliction. This is indeed tzaraat. The pasuk then continues and says, "V'ra'ahu hakohen." The kohen shall once again look at it, v'timeoto, and declare this person impure. And with all the consequences that come along with being declared impure, at least at first glance, the first thing that happens there is a 7-day quarantine. For those of you who think that quarantine is a new thing, it's not. It goes back to the Torah. 7-day quarantine in this week's Parsha. There are 14-day quarantines. So what would have happened? The Department of Health would have come and... okay, fine. Enough. So the Kohen is looking twice in this pasuk. Why is the Kohen looking twice? Why did the pasuk have to say he looks again? It's a little odd. So the Meshech Chochma, Rav Meir Simcha of Dvinsk, he addresses this question. What is the Kohen looking at twice? Why is he looking at it twice? And he says that the first time when the Kohen is looking, he's looking to see, does this look like tzaraat or not? Leprosy or not? It's a fact-finding mission. If the Kohen is indeed in his mind determined that this does look like tzaraat, well, he has to look again. What does it mean? V'ra'ahu hakohen, the Meshech Chochma says, hu sheyireh hakohen al ha'ish. He should look at the person. Im ro'oi litamoto. Does his or her life circumstances warrant that I should make them impure? Because again, as I said before, the Kohen has the ultimate say as to whether or not the person is tameh. Even if it looks like tzaraat, and it is tzaraat, it's not. The person is not tameh until they're not impure until the Kohen declares it. And so the Kohen has to look a second time at the life circumstances. Meshech Chochma writes, Im chatan. What if the person is a groom in the week of his Sheva brachot? So maybe the Kohen, notin lo kol shiva yemei hamishta. Wait until after the Sheva brachot week. Come back and say, hey, let me take another look at that. And then maybe then you can declare the person tameh. but not in the week in which they're spending with their new bride. He writes, "V'chein b'regel." Man or woman comes and says, "Oh, it looks like Tzaraat. What do I do?" And you're like, "Oh, it's Chol HaMoed Pesach. The family is over. They have a whole to-do. Everybody's having a festive time." Notnin lo kol yemot haregel. You tell them, "Hey, come back after the holiday. I'll take a better look at it." Why? Shalola arbev simchato. We're not supposed to get in the way and to mix up and to ruin the joy of family time together on the holiday, of the bride and the groom having their first week together as a married couple. Duracheha darchei noam, he writes. The ways of the Torah are pleasant. And so when the Kohen looks a second time and has to make the ultimate declaration, he can take the liberty of saying, "I'll see you in a few days, and then we'll make a decision." And he has to think about, Imhu ro'ui lefi hazman letamoto, given their life circumstances, at this moment, does it make sense during these next 7 days that they should be in quarantine? And this is how the halacha is decided when it comes to Tzaraat. And this is a prime example of how the halachic system takes into account life circumstances. I think we've all lived through this now for the last year and change. We've all seen the halachic system in a difficult time flex its muscle at adjusting to life circumstances. It is part of the halachic system. We don't see it that often because we don't live most of the time in pandemics. We don't live most of the time in a situation where it becomes impossible sometimes. But the halachic system has this built in. In fact, I recall very fondly of this memory because I think about it all the time. That my Rebbe from YU, Rabbi Weider, would often say to his smicha students is that when you get questions one day when you're a rabbi, you're not answering a shaila. You're not answering a question, an academic question. You're answering a shoel. You're answering somebody. It's a person with a set of life circumstances. And that is to be taken into account when you answer a question. And so aside from that, which we can learn from this section, there's also a value I think we can learn in our lives aside from halacha, which is that when we are interacting with people, whether they're in our family, whether they're in our community, or outside our community, we need to look at the individual and what are their needs. What is their life circumstance? What are they going through? Maybe this is not the time to bring up something else because they are going through a challenging moment that's taking all of their emotional energy. We need to think about what everyone is going through to the best of our ability. We don't always know everything, but to the extent that we know and we can be sensitive to it, it is our responsibility as a Torah-observant Jew to think about what are their needs. What is the circumstance? How do I allow them to see my sensitivity? And how do I allow them to have the space to go through what they are going through? If we are able to do that, we are well on our way to being fine people and to being exemplary citizens of this world. May we appreciate always our halachic system, and may we all succeed at being there to understand what others are going through and be sensitive and kind. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Be well.